Do your homework. It's not that hard. What are their questions? How do we answer them? Collaborating with your lender, getting third-party information as well as other materials that you can share with your buyers and explain in simple terms. That makes all the difference in this environment today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Builder365 podcast. I'm Rachea Pendley. I'm one of the sales trainers here at Shore Consulting, and I'm coming to you from Austin, Texas. Joining me today is the always gorgeous, always graceful Michelle Bendine. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello. Thank you, Rachea. It's so great to be here joining you today.
Oh, I have so much fun just working with you and talking with you. It's always just a great day when I get to spend time with the Michelle Bendine. Wow. This is my first time to be hosting one of the Builder365s, and I'm getting to share this with you, and I'm just so excited about it.
Well, thank you so much for letting me tag along today. It's going to be a great time.
Oh, I think it's going to be magic. Speaking of magic, the season is almost upon us. Do you have any holiday plans this year?
Well, I think I'm going to have everyone come over for the holidays this year. So it'll be at my home this year. So I'm super excited about that. And how about you?
Oh, I am always preparing something for the holidays. I love holiday decorating. Yes. I don't know about you. I think one of the last trainings that we went on, there was like a Pottery Barn next door. And we both decided, okay, we got to go in and see. We got to go preview like the Pottery Barn holiday stuff. And we had a lot of fun just walking around and gawking at stuff to use.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the best parts, at least for me, is just getting out all the decorations and putting up the trees and all the lights and all that stuff. What's your favorite thing about it, about the decorations?
I love Christmas lights. Love Christmas lights.
Magic.
Every year. I think I just like the sparkle of Christmas lights, like the glow, and it just feels like magic. And I love putting them on my house. I always have them in my home. And so it's just a lot of fun for me to decorate with the Christmas lights and just have that glow to the season. I feel like it makes the season bright.
Absolutely. I love it. And love the lights that you got going on right there too.
Yeah, I cannot help myself. I have these all over my house.
That's so fun. I love it.
Well, Michelle, I had one of the things that we do is we go around all over the country, just sort of talking to sales counselors all across the nation. And I feel like one of the biggest hangups right now is still affordability. Have you been seeing that on your end as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hearing it from all of our clients is really it is the hot topic. It is affordability for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I just feel like affordability continues to be like one of those hangups of moving the buyers into the yes zone. And I was able to have a really great conversation with Anthony Grasst at CMG Mortgage. Anthony's the vice president and national builder manager with CMG, and he is recognized as one of the top financing experts in the country. And he goes around kind of like we do, and he teaches sales counselors how to engage buyers using financing. And I think one of the things that I love about him is that he brings actionable items to us to create solutions that then create sales. And I'm excited to share our conversation with you guys today. Now, before we bring out Anthony, I want to give out a quick shout out. Builder365 is powered by Open Door for Builders. With an Open Door cash offer, builders can give their customers a simple and certain selling solution so they can get into their new homes with speed and ease. Who doesn't love that? Customers can close in as little as 14 days and move in on their schedule. No stress, no hassle, completely seamless. Open Door's flexible closing timelines help provide builder customers with a better moving experience so they don't need to worry about construction delays or double moves. Gone are the days of stagings, showings, and making repairs. Open Door will do the hard work for you so your customers can sell quickly. Get started today at opendoor.com/builder365. With Open Door, it's easy sales, smooth moves. Anthony Grasst, Thank you so much for joining us today on the show. I understand that you are like a barbecue connoisseur. Tell me about this.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. Because you're in Austin, we can talk about barbecue. Actually, in my ancient history, I actually was on a professional barbecue cooking team. And we finished first in the Pacific Northwest where I live. And I think we placed 10th or 11th nationally at the KC Royale. So great.
That's
great.
just wow. That's amazing. I'm just super impressed. What's your favorite thing to like barbecue up? Like, what's your favorite thing to throw out in front of people to impress them?
This is not going to impress the listeners. My actual favorite thing, there's two favorite things. They're both chicken based, but doing a slow cooked wing that then is finished on the grill with a dry rub is amazing. The other thing that I do is a bone-in chicken thigh with a apricot glaze on it. It's just pretty amazing.
Wow, you are like making my mouth water. It's not even lunchtime yet, and I'm like, okay, I think I need some of that in my life right now. I mean, the next time you come to Texas, we're going to talk more about this.
Oh, I'm down for Texas. I love coming down there, and I love the barbecue all over the area.
Well, and speaking of like all over, you help hundreds of builders across the nation with their mortgage expertise, kind of help them with financial questions that may come up. And you do a lot of this, correct?
Oh yeah, yes. I probably 2 to 3 times a week, I'm speaking to builders. I'm speaking to their sales teams, really learning what's going on in the market, what are their challenges, and sharing best practices and ideas that can help them.
That's awesome. And, I have to kind of start with this. You being the mortgage expert, Fannie Mae every year runs a home purchase sentiment index, and they send out this survey that basically gauges how consumers are feeling about purchasing a home right now. And right now, that consumer index is kind of at a all-time low. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, it is. It's slightly higher than its worst month, which was last month. But it's 19% of buyers say it's a good time to buy. But if you actually get into the report a little more, the major issue there is affordability. So from my seat, buyers are still searching, researching, looking at homes right now. So there is still demand. And the important thing to remember is that buyer in front of you, regardless of their hesitation, their pushback, whatever's going on there, that is a real buyer. They got in their car in this market or picked up the phone. They're not there because they're bored. They're there because they really want to figure out home ownership. And, owning a home is powerful. It is still the American dream. There's all sorts of benefits that go along with it, in terms of having space for my family, livability, schools, neighborhoods, all of that. But right now, that issue around affordability is really creating a negative sentiment.
But on the positive side, people are still coming out. People are still coming into our model homes. Buyers aren't really missing right now.
No, they're not. Actually, if anybody says, did buyers go away? The answer is no way. They didn't. We have a huge demographic tailwind of younger buyers. I'm older now, but younger buyers that are out there. I mean, they make up 35-40% of the market. They want a home. They can't figure out affordability right now. And if you really look at the market, resale inventory is very, very low. So buyers are really concentrating around new inventory, and that is the opportunity. How do we communicate to these people who are concentrating around our homes so that we can show them how they can own a home? And there's a lot of motivational factors, but especially with younger buyers, more so than any other generation. And you can search this on Google, Google or whomever, AI, take your pick, who you want to talk to. But you can go ask, there's all sorts of research around buyer motivations, especially younger ones. And much more so than any other generation, young buyers today view the home as the foundation of wealth creation. And for all of us who've owned a home, have we not created wealth for ourselves? Absolutely, we have. So that's a big motivation out there as well that is driving these young buyers. They just can't figure out how to finance it or how to afford this home.
Interesting. So it sounds like, even me as a sales trainer, and I go coast to coast and I see new home sales counselors all across the nation. And I do hear that common thread that buyers are just sort of hesitating right now. They're just not moving forward. So again, you as sort of the mortgage professional, the mortgage expert in the room, what do you think from your perspective? What's the number one issue that sort of stands between a buyer that moves forward or just deciding to wait? What's the biggest issue?
There is a knowledge gap. Let's call it that. There is a knowledge gap. Buyers don't understand the path forward, and most of the sales teams don't know how to explain the financing to bridge that gap. I hope that makes sense. That is a big gap. And I'll explain it this way, that there's a book that I read a number of years ago. I think it's a phenomenal book. It has nothing to do with new home sales. It has to do with buyers and the motivation and the change in humans. And what it simply says is emotion drives us. And you've seen that. Oh my gosh, I want to own this home. But logic, which is the path forward, if it is complex, stops the process. The analogy that they use is an elephant is the emotion, all excited, jumping up and down. Yeah, we're going to go get this thing. But the driver, if the path is complex, the elephant doesn't go forward. So part of the sales counselor's role is, how do we simply explain or make this easy for the buyer to move forward? And this isn't super complexity. It's, we need to make this simple. We need to make it simple and understandable, because as Jeff always says, easy equals right. I always say complexity kills the deal. And I raise my hand, I've killed many sales calls through complexity. So you have to make it simple and understandable for the buyer. How do I get there? What does this mean? I'm concerned about this. How do we explain that to them?
Gosh, what you're saying is resonating. It's just ringing so many bells in my head right now. It is absolutely imperative that a new home sales counselor really hones a skill for addressing those finance-related questions and concerns, and be able to communicate affordability from a place of strength, because that's a big part of that lack of urgency we're seeing right now in the market. It's not so much lack of urgency. It's really a confidence issue.
Absolutely. It's confidence. It's a lack of understanding, which translates into confidence, which translates into hesitation. Again, the demand, the need to own a home is there. They can't figure out the path forward. And when we learn to communicate with buyers, what we do is we take them from that place of fear and we move them to the possibility of home ownership. Now the elephant moves forward. Now the elephant starts walking down the path. Like, this is something I can do. That's the power behind learning how to communicate.
God, I absolutely love that. Moving buyers from the idea of fear to the realm of possibility. I absolutely love that. Do you have any advice on some strategies for new home sales counselors out there to do just that, to move their buyers from fear to possibility?
Absolutely. One of the skill sets you have to develop is around how you, in two areas. One, how you answer basic financing questions and objections. And I don't mean be a loan officer. So for everybody listening, this is not, rates and qualifications. These are questions that come up about, is it a good time to buy? I may wait for rates to come down. What about pricing? I'm fearful of the market. How do you answer those questions for that buyer? And the second one, so that's one, right? How do we overcome objections and fears that they have, or hesitation that they have? And the second one is, how do I explain my financing? And for me, these two go hand in hand. This is often what I teach a lot about, but I'll give you on the financing side. So a lot of builders do financing, a lot of them, maybe 70% of who I see has some form of financing. Sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not. And it really is the key here is, can you simply explain the value of the incentive in the context of the buyer's concern or the buyer's need? And I'll just give you an example. Incentives that aren't clear, less clear. Let's put it this way. So if you have an incentive and I said, Rachea, do you understand what this $10,000 towards points or closing costs mean? And you're a young buyer, I doubt you can answer that other than, well, I think I need less money, but I still, less money to come in with, but I'm not sure about the payment. So we have to translate that. So when you're looking at your incentive, if you look at that and you said, can a buyer truly understand what is that impact on them? If they can't understand it, it's not as effective. So long background there, but this is a very, very important. So let's use that $10,000. So if you have a buyer that's looking at your home, maybe your home is, let's say $439, for example, and you had a $10,000 incentive and the buyer comes in and says, I love your home. I love the neighborhood. I love the layout. I love everything that's going on. I just can't afford it. We need to keep below 400. If you don't explore that question, you're going to miss a massive opportunity. And if you don't know how to translate your incentive quickly, you're going to miss a huge opportunity with that buyer. So for example, what most salespeople don't understand is financing is 4 times as powerful, dollar for dollar. The dollar invested in financing is 4 times as powerful as the same dollar of price drop. And what I mean by that is that $10,000 lowers the buyer's payment the same as maybe a $40,000 price cut. Would you have wanted to know that? Because a lot of times people say, well, it's $439 and I have $10,000, but we can't lower it $40. What if I could give you the same house payment as a $399,000 home where you're going, but you're buying our home in our neighborhood? So it's the ability to take that incentive and say, hey, with our incentive, here's a very simple term. With our incentive, you can save up to $400 a month on your mortgage payment. It's the same as us cutting the price $40,000. Own the home in the neighborhood you want, in the school district, with the livability, with all the features you want, and we're going to be able to give you that payment. So that is really, really important. And I'll leave you with one other sort of best practice here. Buyers today ask a lot of financing questions and pushbacks and objections and things like that.
You don't say.
Okay. When a buyer starts down that path, please believe me, those are buy signals. They're asking for, solve this, please, because I want the home. One of the best practices I have seen, and this drives me nuts about our industry, about lending, our lenders as well, is typically when a buyer starts asking questions, what I see is, those are really good questions. I'm going to have our lender follow up. Buyers walk out the front door. The Canadian Clipper hits them. They freeze solid. You never see them again. While they're in that emotional moment, okay, the elephant's in front of you. It's really important to have a live handoff with your lender.
Yes.
Rachea, those are really good questions. We have an incredible lender, Anthony. I'll use my name. We have an incredible lender, Anthony, who can answer that very quickly. Let me get him on the phone, or may I get them on the phone? Nobody's going to say no. You're not asking them to take an application. You're not asking them to go to a website. Let's just answer these questions quickly. And here's another best practice. This is a super best practice. You're going to use your phone and you're going to call me. And because I know you, and because we've practiced ahead of time, I know you're live with the buyer. You're going to have your phone. You're going to give it to your buyers. And if they want to talk something personal, you're going to allow them to use your office and you shut the door. Then when they're done with their discussion, they come back out. I know to not hang up. I know then to recap with you our discussion and to encourage them to move forward. There you go. That is a practice that I saw at one builder, and they had amazing, what I call conversion rate of the buyers willing to move forward towards purchase and sale.
Yeah, and I love that idea too, because you're capturing them in a moment where the sales counselor has them at this emotional high. they've likely found the home that really works for them. Now they're just sort of looking for, how do I clear the path to get that home, to get into that home, to make that home mine? And I just need answers there. And if the sales counselor were to just transition to their mortgage partner as just sort of an extension of their expertise, that captures that buyer in that highly emotional moment. It doesn't break the chain of their desire for the home. I love that best practice. And we certainly would benefit from doing more of that.
I understand the pressures of affordability. You need to be able to express and empathize, and then say, express other things that you're doing or how you're helping them, to really switch in their brain, using the book title, that, oh, this is possible, right? And once people believe that they have a path forward, watch how their effort changes, right? Watch how we need to figure this out. How does this work? All of a sudden, it's not resistance. It's, help me clear that path forward, and so that we can purchase the home.
Another thing that you said, Anthony, that really resonated with me is being able to sort of tackle any questions that they may have sort of head on, and not shy away from those and say, oh, let me find out, I'll get back to you, and use it as a follow-up piece, but actually try to tackle them in the moment. Tell me a little bit about what you would recommend about sort of pre-gaming the buyer's concerns.
What are the objections we're hearing collectively as our sales team? Write them down. Number 2, talk to our lenders. What are the objections or concerns, motivations? What are we hearing? What are you seeing from the buyers? From those, that will give you a very good starting point for simply understanding, I need to have answers to these different areas. One of the things that I think is important too is understanding the demographic and financial behavior of your buyer. Now, I don't mean to put everybody to sleep on this one, but it's important to understand that, what do my buyers look like when they finance a home? There is always a majority behavior. For example, 80% of my buyers are 10%, right around 10% down. They're younger buyers. Their income is X, roughly. What I need to know about that, why I need to know that, is number 1, does my financing align with what they need? Number 2, that type of buyer will also show, hey, they need purchasing power, easier qualification, things like that. So you can get into the motivations and the behaviors, which then can really help you. And this is where the financing partner can really add value, is showing you those behaviors. That guides you in what you want to say. Now, you asked me about some different areas and concerns. So we talked about the value of financing. What does that mean? So again, so if you have financing, some basic things. How much a month does that save? It's the equivalent of what type of price cut. Also is, below that, same payment as a home priced X. Increased your purchasing power. How much? How much interest did it save you over 5 or 10 years? Those are powerful motivations for buyers. But in addition, you can also, common objections, I'm waiting for interest rates to go down. That one is maybe not an understanding of what the financing means. Maybe I need a lower priced home. Well, we already can achieve that with our incentive. That's the payment that they need. The other thing with that type of buyer, cost of waiting analysis is important. I shouldn't say analysis. There's beautiful, what we call infographics, visualizations that you can customize for your neighborhood, for your price point, that shows a buyer, and it comes from a third party, so they believe it. And so being able to explain buying now is incredibly important, especially paired with any incentive. It gets them into the home they want. So, waiting, bad idea. And I mean this, bad idea. Do you think when rates come down, demand is going to drop? No. All these people on the sideline are going to come back in. You're going to be fighting for a home again. Prices will go up. I don't want to see 2021. That was mayhem. But and it wasn't healthy. Let's, this is why buy now. And remember, I mentioned earlier, one of their main motivations was around wealth creation. So cost of waiting, wealth creation, get into the home now with the financing you need, rent versus buy. Why are you renting? Let's compare it to buying. And you can also have third-party articles. This is really important because buyers will say, well, pricing is going to collapse, the market's going to collapse. Highly unlikely. We have a absolute drought of inventory with only new home being sufficient supply, not sufficient supply, but steady supply out there in the market. And so this challenge is going to remain for a while. But having third-party information that talks about, for example, that CoreLogic article talks about home prices appreciating, talks about what's going on in the market. Zillow has information out there. I mean, there's all sorts of articles that are not from me and not from you as the salesperson that can really help the buyer, address that fear. But one of the most important things, and I talked about the empathy side of it, or empathy, I think is the right word to use for it. But when buyers are concerned about affordability, here's a great best practice. I was thinking about it this morning that I've seen used. When the buyer's saying, God, it's so expensive, I don't know if we can afford it. Empathize with that. I understand how much affordability is impacting home payments today. And that's why we've put together this incentive to make the home more affordable for you. Here's what we've done. That segue is really powerful at empathizing where they're at, and then showing them what you're doing incentive-wise and how it helps them. So long answer there, but there's all these different things that you can have, but that requires the homework and the collaboration to move forward, and you have to practice it as well.
Absolutely. This stuff takes a ton of practice, because if you're going to deliver on an incentive and say, here's our incentive, but here's what it means to you, that takes practice. And I think that calls into question, or at least is a call to action for the sales leaders out there as well who may be watching this show, that sales leaders really need to engage with their sales teams as well and include their online sales teams and really practice and test their team's knowledge on this stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. And for everybody listening, I mean, trust me, role playing in front of a group is never fun. And I
love role play.
I'm the first one to say, really, do we have to do this? But this stuff that I'm talking about isn't difficult. I'm not asking you to be a loan officer. I'm not asking you to understand debt to income ratios and all the different home loan products. You don't need to do that. I'm saying just learn to answer the basic questions, to express certain things about the financing, how to introduce the lender, and then maybe have a cheat sheet. This is another thing that I talk to builders about. Once you have your talking points, build a cheat sheet for your inventory, because different prices may have different savings and different impact. And it's really easy for you just to, and nobody's gonna, I'm not buying a home because you looked at the sheet. You can have this in front of you and talk about these things. But it's repetition that builds the skill.
Mm-hmm. And when we're confident, they'll be confident.
Absolutely. And they want us to be emotionally intelligent, not freaking out. They want us to be confident. And again, going back to the big gap I see, the challenge I see is many salespeople just don't know, how do I answer these questions? And once they learn, they absolutely take it in. I have a builder we work with in Florida, and their top salesperson, this is all she does. Every single home on every single incentive, she knows exactly monthly savings, same home payment as this price home, this much savings, and versus what the market is and how easy it is to qualify. And she is the number one salesperson, and they have younger entry-level buyers, and that's the drum she beats, and it works, and it's not that hard.
Right. It sounds like she's done her homework. She's really practiced with this. And so when our customers pop her with questions, she knows how to answer it. She knows how to address their concerns.
And if she doesn't, it's okay. I don't know every question when people ask me. It's okay.
But you
That's
can
it.
have that's where a strong partner like yourself comes into play. That mortgage expert,
Well, that's
having
what
that as a
yeah.
partner in our back pocket is invaluable.
Well, that's where the introducing of the lender, that is a great question. And in your head, you're thinking buy signal, buy signal, buy signal.
Right.
Those are great questions. And you will get all sorts of questions. I just got a divorce. How does that impact? That's a really good question. I'm self-employed. How does that impact me? And when you're showing them the home and talking to them, they're ready. Okay. That's back to lender introduction. And I'm going to give you one more best practice as well. And this comes from trial and error for the last 2.5 years when interest rates were going up is where do you discuss financing? So a lot of times, builders, we see incentives everywhere. So that incentive, the goal of those incentives is really to drive engagement from the buyers. We want sales appointment. We want them coming in. But when they're in, don't start with the incentive.
Yeah.
Go and show them the home. Make sure the home is what they want. And you can defer the conversation. We're going to talk about the financing at the end, but let's make sure the home is, fits your lifestyle, is the home you could see yourself in, right? Talk about all the things that you want to do. And I had a builder who said we started with that, with financing. The salespeople were so excited. But then we lost steam at the end with the buyer. So they inverted the process. They said, no, we're going back to selling our homes, our livability, our design, everything beautiful about our homes and where we are. And then when they're falling in love with the home, then they would close with the financing. That this is something that we're doing to make the homes more affordable for our buyers. And as soon as they switched that, where in the process they talked about financing, their sales took off from there. We can't change the market. And this is a really important part. We can't change the market. We cannot change buyer sentiment across the United States. However, you have buyers online, you have buyers calling you, you have buyers chatting with you, coming in. You can influence those buyers in front of you. And that's the power of having these talking points and this conversation. And I call it do your homework. Do your homework. It's not that hard. What are their questions? How do we answer them? Collaborating with your lender, getting third-party information as well as other materials that you can share with your buyers and explain in simple terms. That makes all the difference in this environment today.
This has been so amazing. This is such great advice and so many actionable items that we as new home sales counselors can take to help our buyers achieve the home of their dreams, to clear that path forward and to make it super easy for them. Because as we've all said, and Jeff Shore says it too, easy equals right. Any other final takeaways from you?
I guess without just repeating myself, it really don't fear taking on the financing questions and affordability. It really comes down to, I don't understand how to afford this home. You're not going to solve everybody's concern, but by doing that homework, practicing how to answer it, you're going to pick up incremental sales. And in this market, that is absolutely everything. The other thing is, you don't know everything. I don't know everything. Reach out to your lenders. Have them teach you. And I don't mean teach you, income qualification ratios. That's useless. Well, maybe not useless, but that's not something you want to use in the sales process. But right. Work with them about, how do I answer this? What does this mean? What do our buyers look like? What are the motivations and concerns you are hearing? Because they're going to be telling that person maybe different things than what they're telling you. All of that is powerful intel to guide you in your conversation. So the more you understand about your buyer, and the more you practice on how to explain your incentive as well as answer some financing questions, you'll have a great pickup in your sales, but you'll also feel much more confident. And that's the key. You want to be confident in addressing their concerns.
I really love what you said too about using financing as the close. Start with the home, get them sold on the home that they love, because after all, it doesn't make any sense to be talking about financing unless we're talking about financing on the home that they love. So we have to find the right home first. Start with the home and then close with financing. I've just really enjoyed this, Anthony. Thank you so much for your time. I super enjoyed your thoughts on taking buyers from the fear to the possibility by simply addressing the affordability concerns head on, collaborating with lenders in real time in that elevated moment where they love the home, they just got to find a path forward, and then simplifying financing discussions to make them easy to understand for the buyers. Thank you so much for your time today.
Well, Rachea, thank you so much for having me on. I look forward to coming to Houston and eating some great barbecue with you and anybody else who would like to join us. I'll also want to drink beer if we do that. So there you go.
Heck yeah. Are you kidding me? It's a date. We're going to have some barbecue, we're going to have some beer, and we're going to enjoy some Texas time together.
Absolutely. I love it.
Oh, it was so good to see you. Thank you again for all your time and sharing your expertise with us. It means so much to us, especially in this marketplace. We are just very grateful.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Michelle, I absolutely loved talking to Anthony about how sales counselors can better serve customers through this season of hesitation. Yeah. I also really appreciate the analogy about the elephant and the rider. Like the elephant sort of being like the big chunk of like the emotion, and how that is like this big, huge weight of just feelings. And then here's logic on the top as the rider just kind of trying to navigate. And I thought, how cool is it that sales counselors are kind of like the guide on the ground in front of that elephant, and they're just taking a machete to that financial jungle, just taking things out of the way and clearing a path for this elephant, for this thing that goes through. What were some of your takeaways on that?
Well,
from Anthony?
Listen, I really appreciate the conversation, because this is almost for many new home sales professionals, when you think financing, it's like taboo. And so just kind of breaking it down in a cool way, just to hopefully make everyone more comfortable or open to the idea of, look, this is something that we need to get really good at, especially to make it easy for the customer to say yes.
Yeah. You know what it really kind of reminded me of? Have you ever seen that movie Free Solo?
Yes, I have. Oh, great movie.
Oh, yeah. There's this guy called, there's this guy named Alex Honnold, and he wrote a book called Alone on the Wall, and it was about his solo climb of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. Now, if anybody's familiar with like El Capitan, it's like that big, huge half dome cliff face. It's like 3,000 feet tall. And what Alex looked at it and said, well, that looks like something I'd like to climb with no ropes and no safety equipment. And I got to tell you, what's fascinating about the story is that he didn't just look at it and decide to climb it. He prepared. Like the whole thing is just months of preparation.
Yes.
He would kind of choose a path to go up this cliff face, and he would climb it regularly. And when he climbed it, he would go up and he would remove rocks that were loose, remove like maybe plants that have grown in some cracks, and like kind of brushing away sandy areas. He would go up at this path on a regular basis, practicing, but then he was removing obstacles while he was doing that. And I think that's what it reminds me of. And what a great way to what a great thing to kind of apply to our lives as sales professionals when we think of the sale as, when we think of preparing for the sale in that way. How prepared are we to tackle some of those problems that our customers might have?
Yeah, I love what you said there, Rachea, and how he removed those obstacles. And sometimes the biggest obstacle is ourselves and what's going on up here. And if we think, oh, financing, I can't get into anybody's personal business financing. That's, that's an obstacle. And we need to remove that obstacle. And anything worth doing well, we need to prepare for. And I think this is one thing we really do need to prepare for. And look, it's uncomfortable, and it kind of goes down to, and practice, which is something that we know how important that is. And especially with this topic, it's not going to, you're not going to magically know how to have those conversations. You're going to have to practice, right? And with that practice, right, we become more comfortable. And when we become more comfortable, we become more confident. But it all comes down to that practice, and through mastery, now we can be comfortable and confident having those conversations, those very important conversations with our buyers, right?
Absolutely. And taking all of that you just said with that mastery and that confidence, you're going to be able to clear the path to your home sales, because you are leading that giant elephant through that jungle, but you're going to be able to do so because you know how to clear the path for that buyer and get to the sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, comfortably. I just really loved this today.
Yeah. Comfortably, confidently. And both of those things are adaptable for the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great interview, Rachea. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I learned so much, and I hope you guys did too. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed today's.
It's okay.
I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of Builder365, and that you were able to take away some actionable items on how you can collaborate with your mortgage experts and also prepare and practice with some of those elements so that you can clear the path to your home sales for your buyers. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.